What's up YouTube, this is GalacticGod, and I'm here today with a video about Synchro monsters versus XYZs. Now I'm going to give you guys a brief history of each of these monster types. I'm going to talk about which one I think has been more influential and more devastating to the game, and ultimately which one I prefer. Now I did a video very similar to this right after XYZs first came out in the TCG, and there wasn't a lot of change that happened within at that time. But over the course of the last few years, we have seen the impact that XYZ monsters have had on the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! They've gone from taking just maybe 1 or 2 or 3 slots up in the extra deck to completely dominating it. But does that mean they're better than Synchros? Or have Synchros just been around so long and all their really powerful cards placed on the forbidden list that they have kind of fallen out of favor? Now, Synchro monsters were first introduced to us with the 5Ds anime series. In my opinion, probably the best of all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime series. Now, a lot of players were really unsure of these new white cards that we were getting, and they were also hesitant about including the new tuner monsters in their deck, which they would need to actually perform the Synchro summon. At the time, we already had really powerful creatures that we could summon without giving up 2 monsters, a tuner and a non-tuner, to bring them out, such as Dark Arm Dragon and Judgment Dragon. These cards kind of ruled the metagame at the time, and a lot of players were of the mindset, well, why would I give up 2 monsters to bring out 1 when I can just summon 1? Or I could just give up 1 monster to bring out a tribute monster, such as Jinzo or Air Knight or one of the Monarchs that were all real popular at the time as well. And so when Synchros were first introduced, they met a lot of opposition within the player base. But that opposition soon dissolved, as duelists quickly realized how fast Synchros could actually be summoned. With new support such as Emergency Teleport, people were able to get out these big, more powerful Synchro monsters really fast, thus ushering in the format of Teledad, one of the most prominent metas in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! History. From there, Synchros would evolve and change as new archetypes such as Black Wings and X-Sabers were getting released in the TCG. People started finding new ways to abuse the mechanic of Synchro summoning, all the way up into the point of the Synchrocentric deck, or Synchro Plant as some players have come to know it. With cards like Goyo Guardian, Bryonic, and Trishula all available in the extra deck, it seemed like Synchros were an unbeatable force. Nothing would ever top their might. So when Konami announced the new XYZ monsters that would be released upon the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal TV series, a lot of players were hesitant to think that they would have any kind of relevant impact on the TCG meta. But with the release of the XYZ monsters, Konami placed a lot of the really powerful Synchro monsters on the forbidden list, thus opening up some extra deck space and allowing duelists to kind of explore these new XYZ monsters and dabble with them in their extra deck. Also, Konami gave us probably one of the more pinnacle cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! To help promote the XYZ monsters, Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide would have a huge impact on many of the metas to come after its release until it was eventually limited and its little buddy Sangan was placed on the forbidden list. But by that time, XYZ had arrived and duelists fully understood the power of them. With each new set into the Zexal era, it seemed like XYZ only became more accessible to the duelists. It seemed like no longer were duelists specifically relying on Synchro monsters. In fact, many decks no longer held a Synchro monster in them. They were purely all the black XYZ cards. And with the release of the new Pendulum monsters debuting in the new Yu-Gi-Oh! TV series, I decided to take a look back at Synchros and XYZ and ultimately give my opinion on which one I felt had a bigger impact on the game. So for me, it has to go back to Synchros. They ultimately changed the way many duelists have to play, and their impact is felt even all the way through to today's meta. Now, when I originally started dueling, we didn't have any cards in the extra decks other than fusion monsters, which really had no relevance on any kind of meta other than Thousand Eyes Restrict during the GOAT format. But upon the release of Synchro monsters, all that changed. No longer were you even allowed to have an unlimited extra deck, now you were limited down to 15 cards in there. Plus, it changed the way duelists played the game. No longer did you have to protect a low-level monster long enough to actually tribute summon out a level 5, 6, 7, or 8 monster to get something big enough on the field that your opponent couldn't get around. Now you could just special summon out a bunch of low-level monsters and immediately synchro summon them on up into something that was kind of unstoppable. But that's just my opinion. So in the comment section below, let me know what you think has been the most relevant, dominant, influential monster type in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is it Synchros or is it the XYZs? And I guess that's it for now. This is GalacticGod, out.